What I know for sure is that speaking your truth is the most powerful tool we all have.
I've had rainbows in my clouds. And the thing to do, it seems to me, is to prepare yourself so that you can be a rainbow in somebody else's cloud.
We all really, really love one another. Deep down, we all love one another, and we need to get back to that.
Hi, I'm Dr. Julie Ducharme, and welcome to the Authentically You podcast. As you know, we interview people doing really wonderful, authentic things, authentic stories, and I love to find these amazing people, and I actually found Cynthia on Facebook. Cynthia, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
And she is the creator and owner of Twirly Girl. And I actually, I was just telling her that her marketing works because I saw it on Facebook and I clicked on it. Being someone who owns a kids' entertainment business, the first thing I saw was like, oh my gosh, how cute. How fun would that be for a party? And then I started researching and found there was so much more to your story and your passion and love for what you do. And so I'd love for you to tell us about Twirly Girl and how it came about.
So thank you for all that, by the way. It's an interesting journey. I started out as an actress, and that was my passion for a while. I was also dancing, and then I went back. I never went to college, so I thought I wanted to go back to college. No, not back, but try it. For 2 years, I went to a community college, and this was all in my 30s, and took me like 3 or 4 years to get 2 years. and during that time I met my husband. I was working a little bit, and he was a writer on a sitcom. So our talents kind of merged into Twirly Girl eventually. And so the marketing that you see is his talent of writing it. And I get to act, and it's not really acting. It's kind of like I'm myself, but it's heightened reality and really fun and very, comedic at times. And, so I get to use all those talents there. So I'm glad that you recognized that you liked it. So that's really nice. So in terms of starting Twirly Girl, it was, I had my 2 daughters at the time. I kind of left acting. It wasn't something I wanted to keep pursuing. I became frustrated with the business and having to wait for somebody to give me an opportunity to do what I love. I think acting is one of those professions you can't just do it alone in your living room. You have to have an audience. So it got to be not as fulfilling as it used to be. And I had some success in that, but it wasn't exactly where I wanted to go. And so it wasn't a hard thing for me to leave. I was just really ready and at peace with it, and ready to do the next thing, which I had no idea what that would be. And like I said, I had my 2 daughters and was raising them, and I didn't have a great childhood, so I really got to live a new childhood with my daughters, and I was really enjoying this time with them and relishing every moment. And I came to a place where my mother suggested I take a sewing class with her, and she was just god awful at it, and just I don't even know why she would think she would be good at it. She's terrible mechanically at everything. But anyway, she got me there, so that was good. And my grandmother actually sewed, and I was never really interested in it when she was making my costumes for Halloween. And she was really lovely in that way. And she had one of those old singers with the big black foot pedals and nothing plugged in. It was all like you just push on this thing. It was fantastic. But anyway, so I think I picked up that gene from her. And the minute I sat down at a sewing machine, it was like, oh my God, this is so much fun and instant gratification. gamification. You make something and you use it. Like, how great is that? It's just, the world's limitless now. I can make anything. And so I would go to my sewing teacher, who was amazing. She could make wedding dresses or creature costumes. Like, she works in the industry for special effects costumes, but she can do fine couture tailoring. That's how talented she is. So I would go to her and say, well, I kind of want to do this, but I want to change the pattern and make it look like this. And being a creative, which she was, and so open and a wonderful teacher, she just encouraged me to keep finding my voice in terms of what I wanted to create. And I ended up landing on this. I didn't care about making clothes for myself because I'm not into fashion with a capital F. I'm just, just creative person. And so I started making these dresses for my daughters, and everybody liked them. And I just came up with this really fun concept. And it was all driven by wanting to explore and prolong, in a way, or really sit in the beauty and wonder of childhood, because like I said, I never really got to experience it. So for me, it was magical. It was surreal. It was this otherworldly window into another space and time where it only happens once in your life, and it's very brief. And if you miss it, you can never kind of recapture that again, unless, like me, you're living through somebody else. And so I really saw the value of keeping this a very special time. And so the clothing that I started to make for them was resonating with other people as like, yeah, this is very special and unique. There really is something transformative about it. Every time they would put on what I made, it just opened up a new window into another world of exploring and imagination and playing and being something they didn't think they were. And it just opened this door. And I know there's a lot of women who make clothes, and I started in that boom of online businesses, mompreneurs, as they call them. And that was really a wonderful time for all of us, because it gave us an avenue to be with our kids, but also start this kind of movement where we're taking control over our own creativity and our life and our mission. And everybody has a little bit of a different twist. But, as I developed the business, I started to realize that it was really a healing journey for me. And I got to reclaim that childhood that I never had by creating this world for my daughters. And so it just kept growing very organically. We've never taken loans. We've never put mortgaged our house to put money back into the business. It's just grown very, very slowly into a successful business now. So, and I had the luxury of not needing it to be the breadwinner or, have that much risk involved. So it didn't have to pay off right away. I could just keep reinvesting into the business. And I know, I'm just so grateful that I had that luxury. And I encourage everyone, if you have something, to start small if you can. Even if you're working a side hustle or a day job, just start small so that it can grow organically, and you can make these tweaks not out of fear, but out of it growing on its own and you finding where it needs to go. If you have that time, it's really wonderful way to build a business.
I was just saying, I love that because I talk to countless women, especially moms, who are on that track and that want, like you talked about, of wanting to find their passion and do something, but allow them to be able to be moms and, be around their children. I know when I switched over, about my daughter is 10 now, but about 10 years ago, I was working 60, 70 hours a week and, paying an exorbitant amount for daycare. And I remember thinking, this is not what I want, and I did that for a while as well. The side hustle as I built my businesses and was able to eventually transfer over to, like you said, work online, work remote, and be able to do all those things, but still be a mom. I mean, the studies show that, as moms, we hold majority of the workload when it comes to children. And so I see women doing that. What I love about this, is that you took something that wasn't great in your life and you're able to turn it around into something that could give back to your children and many other children out there. I love the magic of that. I think that's why I love your commercials that you came up with, because they're so fun. And I mean, I love the invisible dress one. That just made me laugh so hard. And when she goes, the only invisible dress, and then you pull it up and you go, phew. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that was hilarious. And my daughter was watching it and she goes, is there really an invisible dress? And then I started laughing even harder. So, but I love how you've brought this all together. And I love the advice, because a lot of women constantly ask me, well, should I take out a loan? And, I'm a big advocate like you of working it small, doing the side hustle and building it out, because the last thing you want is be, 100,000, 150,000.
Oh, yeah. No, the pressure of that is you're going to make decisions that are not based in what feels right, but out of fear. And fear is not a good motivator for anybody.
No.
Yeah.
And I like too how you talked about building it. Everyone wants to make $1 million overnight right now. And businesses today, I mean, one of my businesses is 18 years old. And another one's like 12 years old. And a lot of times people just want to know, how can I make all that money really fast? And good businesses aren't built overnight.
No, and you know what? It's more about getting sober with it and not getting caught up in that rush of having to have, as Americans, and just our culture is so built on fast, and now. And you have to understand, how much do you realistically need to have a comfortable life? Everybody has a different barometer, but I was talking to my husband when he started to get involved more and really take some interest in like his part in it, because for a long time he was kind of just watching me, and he would see me go through phases of, well, I'm going to try this. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, I'm going to try this. Okay, well, that kind of worked. I'm much more passionate with just selling direct to my customer, not wholesale. That really doesn't appeal to me. And so I kept kind of trying to find my place. And as this was still happening, growing, all that, but very slowly. And finally he goes, you know what, if you want to just market to your retail customer, let's figure this out. Let's really go for it. And, start slowly, of course, and make our own commercials. And I was like, okay, let's do that. And that's what really took off. And he taught himself how to market. But the conversation that we had that really helped me see things in a better light was like, look, we don't need to have $100 million business. That's not the goal. The goal is to make, take home a nice 3-figure amount if we can, and just live off that. That's fine. We don't need $1 million. Like, relax. I'm like, oh, okay. So I don't have to turn myself into a pretzel or start figuring out how I can ramp up production in such a way that's going to make me feel like I have to compromise on what I'm doing or change what I'm doing. I don't. I just need to know that I can keep doing what I'm doing, and that's the goal. Yeah. And I don't, the mentality of like more is better is not necessarily healthy or valid or necessary. Yeah. It's more like, what do you need? Just get what you need, what's going to make you happy, have the life that you want. And it doesn't have to look like millionaires. It doesn't have to look like that. So and I'm not saying I'm stopping my success. It's more just there's a calmness to it, whereas one makes me feel like I'm anxious and fretting all the time because I'm not doing enough, and the other makes me feel like, no, I'm in the right place. Yeah, that calm, that banging your head up against a wall, you have to pay attention to that. If you constantly are banging your head up against a wall, you're on the wrong path.
Yeah.
It shouldn't feel easy. It should feel challenging. It should feel confrontational at times because it's pushing you up against something you need to push through and learn more about. But it shouldn't feel frustrating and like pulling your hair out. It
Yeah.
really shouldn't feel like that.
And I think that when we talk about defining success, a lot of times society defines success by the amount of money you make. But when I look at past successes of mine, sometimes those moments and times, I had pennies to my name, but it was the best success and the most satisfying. And you hit on such a good point that success in our life is not about the amount of money we make, because when it's all said and done, that's not going to define us or who we are, because that money can come and go in an instant. But I love that because a lot of people think in their businesses that they're only successful if they're making a really big number. And I love that because, I mean, my businesses are my passion. I always tell people you will work harder for yourself than you will work for anyone else. But if you love it, it's not work. And, you know, I think that's such a key that, you know, you hit on right there is that we shouldn't be feeling like, oh my God, I haven't made my $1 million yet. When am I going to make my $1 million? Such a good point.
Right. And if you think about it, most companies or most people start to go in and focus on sales. That's not what you want to focus on. You want to think about profit first.
Yeah.
And if you could be selling $10,000 worth of stuff and making $5 on it. That's not a good business. You want to be, let's say you're selling $2 million worth of stuff and you're taking home $30,000. Does that make sense? Who cares if your sales are 2 million? You're not making anything. It's not successful. So scale it down. If you can sell 1 million and take home 100,000, isn't that better?
Yeah.
Like, doesn't that make more sense? Isn't that healthier? So you want to think about having healthy profits and not sales. The sales don't mean anything if you have no profits.
Such a good point.
And there's a really good book called Profit First that really hit the nail on the head with this. And that's where it really changed our whole outlook, my husband's and I, about you know, how we're looking at the business. So now our bottom line is our profit, not our sales. And therefore we're able to donate to Child Help a portion of our sales because we factor that into our pricing and everything that we do. We're constantly like, okay, you know, are we profitable?
Yeah.
That's what's important.
And I love that. It's funny you mentioned that. I was just about to ask you about that. Childhelp.org, I see on your website that you guys donate a portion of every sale to that, which I think is amazing. And if anyone wanted to as well donate to childhelp.org, what's the best way that they can do it so they can support your cause of continuing to support that group?
It's basically like just supporting our business, you know, buying from us directly, and then we donate at the end of the year a portion of our sales. And we've been doing that for, maybe 5 or 6 years now, and it's a really lovely partnership. I'm very passionate about that. If I could have built my own nonprofit to help abused kids, it would have looked like that. And they're national too, so it's not just Los Angeles. I wanted to find a national organization that helped, you know, families, boys, girls of all ages, all of it. So they really support the whole family.
That's great. And I think I want to emphasize to our listeners, because, you know, I'm a big supporter of small businesses, obviously being a small business person. I love that you make everything in America. That means you're creating jobs for people out there. And, you know, I love the idea of this because, you know, when we look at statistics of what's really happening out there, you know, about 90% of the businesses that exist in our economy are small to medium-sized businesses. There's only about 10% that are the big, giant businesses.
Right.
So our economy needs us out there doing our businesses because we're actually a big part of what's happening. And so I very much switched, obviously, when I was doing my businesses, I started saying, you know what? I don't care if I'm going to pay a little bit more. I'm going to go support that small business.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather was a farmer, so I always support local farmers, which means I pay more when I buy my groceries. But those local farmers, you know, they're trying to make it out there against the big ones. And so I think it's so important that, you know, when people are thinking about this, that they think about that. And I love to, I actually had a friend who bought stuff from you when I was, because I was
nice.
promoting your guys' stuff, and I reshared your videos, and I was like, love it. This looks amazing. And my friend responded, she's like, yeah, I bought some for my daughter. And she's like, the best quality that I've ever gotten.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
So she talked about how like durable it was and the quality, and that her daughter loved it. And I was like, you know what? That's just what their website's saying. So that's awesome. And I love that too, to know that you guys are creating these amazing quality, you know, beautiful clothing for children, and it's done with such a passion behind it. It's so cool.
Yeah, and I think when you know, my passion is being direct to the customer. So the whole experience for me is not just about selling something. It really isn't. It's about making that connection and being a part of somebody's family in that way, and seeing the impact that the thing that I created out of nothing has on somebody else is really such a gift and a joy for me that, you know, I love talking to my customers. I'll call them back. I'll talk, you know, it's not like I'm high and mighty and, you know, set aside because I'm the owner. I don't look at it that way at all. It's my business. I'm involved in it. And I think that's what you get when you buy from a small business. You get that care, that customer feedback, and you relish it and you respond. You know, you don't just sit back if it's your business. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we're coming to the end of our podcast, and you've given some amazing advice, but is there anything else for whether it be a younger woman or a woman who's older and they're transitioning in their life? I get that a lot from many women who say, I worked something for 20 years. I'm now getting out of it. I want to do something that I have passion with. What is maybe one tip that you could offer them as they're thinking about doing this?
I would say that, you know, there's always something, you know, no matter, even if you didn't have some kind of trauma with a capital T in front of it that happened to you, there's always something that's lingering in the back that maybe we push aside and don't give enough light to, enough attention to. And I would say, like, if you have the time to meditate about it or just ponder on it and really honor that side of you, it can really help you explore and express yourself in ways that you never thought were even in you. It can be a very important place to go inside yourself, and I encourage you to bring that into the light, because in my experience, I was always afraid to share my story of abuse when I was little, but I got to a point with my business where I couldn't not share it. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I know that's a double
absolutely.
negative, but like I really couldn't go on being authentically me and have this business without divulging where I've come from and what sets my motivation apart from just another dress. This isn't just another dress. This is the reason behind it, the impetus behind it. And once I told my story, which was a huge risk, you know, nothing comes without putting yourself out there and making yourself vulnerable. Brene Brown is one of my favorite people ever, and she's absolutely right. I mean, being vulnerable connects us all. And once I put it out there, which was a risk, because, you know, abuse and children's clothing do not go together, you know. But we found a way to tell the story in a very thoughtful way. And I can't believe the response over, you know, this is over 7 years now. I was way before the Me Too generation, and I'm so glad that's happening now so that everybody can be telling their story. But there's some gold in there. There's some starlight in that experience. And once I brought that place in me that was in the dark into the light, it made me so much stronger. It made me so much more confident. I had something to say. I had experience to share, and it connected me with people in a way that I was never connected before. So it's like if you're leaving something apart from yourself, you need to bring that in so that you can be fully who you are meant to be. And that will guide you in the next direction. Just follow the energy. Keep saying yes to opportunities in front of you. Follow the most odd, impulse that you have. I have a friend of mine who's in the industry, and now all of a sudden, being in the industry, just like you were saying, 20 years, she's making a change. She's a healer now. It's like that came out of nowhere for her.
Yeah.
So it's like, just look in the unexpected places for inspiration and don't be afraid of it.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much for being willing to share your story with us. And I'm looking here, is twirlygirlshop.com the best place they can go to find all your dresses and everything for your company?
Yeah, and all the videos are on there that you talked about, and we're making 2 new videos.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, they're so much fun. They're crazier than ever. But yeah, so yeah, twirlygirlshop.com. There's also a contact page on there, but I'm Cynthia JAMIN at twirlygirlshop.com. And I'm always open to helping people too. So, yeah.
No, this is wonderful. Well, thank you so much for talking with us. And if you're listening right now and you're driving, don't worry. We're going to put this all in the link below so you can access the fun videos, the website and everything. So thank you so much, Cynthia. And to all our listeners, just remember to live, love, laugh, and always be your authentic self.